Yeah, I've been thinking about this idea of self-coaching. So it's where you consult like the best version of yourself to help you make some better choices in life.
What do you want help with?
Well, actually, I was thinking maybe I could help you with some stuff.
Wait, hang on. You think you're the best version? You're just the one who gets wheeled out for Zoom calls and client meetings.
Well, a bit more than that.
Such as?
Well, for example, you know how you like watching Netflix and YouTube videos? Well, I prefer to spend that time reading, watching online lectures, studying.
Yeah, well, I don't see any certificates on the walls. And anyway, what makes you think I need help from you?
Well, remember New Year when you said you wanted to sort your life out, get fit, maybe make some money?
Yeah, well, everyone says shit like that when they're drunk.
Yeah, you also said you wanted to stop drinking.
Oh, right. So now I've got a drink problem, have I?
I'm not saying that. I just mean, you're not getting any younger.
Yeah, well, neither are you.
Right, so maybe it'd be a good idea to start living a bit more healthily, being proactive, achieving some goals.
Yeah, well, I've got stuff going on. I'm writing a book.
Ah, yes, the book. How's that going?
Yeah, I'm developing ideas.
Look, I don't mean to be critical. I just think you're capable of so much more.
Listen, the only difference between me and you is the way we're dressed.
Yes, I actually got dressed this morning. Did you at least make the bed?
Puts a fucking jacket on. Suddenly he's Jordan Peterson.
And what about exercise?
What about it?
Did you do any?
I walked the dog.
I mean, maybe you're happy the way you are. It's just, I don't know, doesn't look like it.
Yeah, well, I've had a few setbacks. Shit happens,
Listen, can I tell you about something that really helped me?
Well, I suspect you're fucking going to anyway, so...
So I developed what you might call a mind map.
Oh, here we go.
A fucking mind map. It's about understanding the way your mind works and then reprogramming it to become more focused and less impulsive.
I'm going to get another beer. I'm assuming you don't want one.
Those two have been at war inside my head for most of my adult life, and too often I've allowed the worst version to get the better of me. Instead of doing the things that were difficult but meaningful, I'd always choose the stuff that was easy but ultimately meaningless, and then I'd beat myself up for not making any progress, and because I'd feel bad, I'd binge to make myself feel better. And I'd end up in this negative spiral of lethargy, unhappiness and unhealthy living. So to break the cycle, I decided to try and find out as much as I could about procrastination to see if I could create a way of beating it. Procrastination occurs because of something that behavioural psychologists call approach-avoidance conflict. It's where you have a choice that has both appealing and unappealing aspects to it, and the brain has to weigh up the pros and cons in order to make a decision. So let's say you have an idea for a book and fantasize about how great it would be to get it published and see your name in print. Maybe get some 5-star reviews for it and who knows, even a book tour. You begin to see it as a surefire route to the life you want and start thinking about getting on with it. But then you begin to realize all the work involved and consider the possibility that you might fail. Once the perceived negatives cancel out the positives, you land in a state of ambivalence, which literally means both having equal value. So you vacillate from one thing to another, only occasionally dedicating any time or energy to writing your book. And since you don't invest any resources in it, you don't feel emotionally invested either. So you remain indifferent about the outcomes, which makes actually thinking about it feel difficult. Stage 2 comes with the realization that writing a book is hard, which turns ambivalence into apathy, and you become more and more vague about the process and about scheduling time for it. This makes the act of writing seem overwhelming, so you start to feel inhibited about it, and you reach a point where even the thought of sitting down to write makes you feel uncomfortable. At stage 3, apathy turns into aversion. Your fear makes you feel like a victim, and puts you in an oppositional stance, where the book, and even the book world in general, become your adversaries. Negative sentiments give rise to irritation, which turns to intellectual defiance, to which you attach narratives designed to protect your ego. So now, instead of admitting that you're afraid of writing your book, you convince yourself that you don't have the time or the headspace, and it ends up being another one of those things you say you'll get round to, but know deep down you never will. So now let's look at what happens when you force yourself past the initial resistance and actually approach the project. By making the decision to block out the noise and focus, you begin to understand and observe the process of writing, which involves scheduling time so that you develop a routine. At this point, the emotional part of your brain will begin to want a return on the investment, so you'll begin to consider the best courses of action, and you'll become more and more engaged on an intellectual level. Then, at stage 2, because your mind's engaged, your focus turns into fascination, and the project begins to become a priority and occupy more and more of your time, to the point where you get better at it through reiteration. You start to feel more confident about the outcomes and begin to actually enjoy the writing process. At stage 3, fascination becomes a fixation, and you find it hard to focus on anything but writing. Reaching a point where the book owns you as much as you own it, you start to feel like you have a responsibility for bringing it to the world, and become emotionally compelled to see it through to a conclusion. And what you find is that you don't just enjoy writing, you become excited about it. Having gone through this on both sides of the equation on different projects, I know how every one of those stages feels. And what I think it shows is that the only real way to beat procrastination is to accept the fact that the life we want involves making some sacrifices and taking risks. And although it might feel hard to force your way past the initial resistance, it's a lot easier once you sit down and ask yourself what it is you really want and then make the commitment to go for it. So in case you're wondering, this is what I call a mind frame. If you found it helpful and you'd like to see more of them, then you'll need to appease the algorithm gods by liking and subscribing. But do so in the knowledge that, as well as helping me to help you, you'll also be helping to bring it to the attention of someone who might really need it. So thank you in advance for doing that. Make sure to check out the links in the description for more info, and leave a comment if there's something you're struggling with and you'd like to see a mind frame for. See you soon.